Yes, are you able to see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, so let us begin with the second part of our fourth module, which is related to the computerized manufacturing planning systems. Okay, so this is all related to the planning activities in the manufacturing. So whenever you think about making a product, okay, so there are a lot of planning activities involved at the back end. It is not just that a product idea comes to your mind, you design the product and directly go for manufacturing. So a lot of intermediary processes are involved before you begin the manufacturing based on a particular design. So what are all those activities? Those we are going to see in this particular topic, that is the computer manufacturing planning systems, and how these computers are going to help in doing this planning. Okay. So what basically a CAPP is basically is it is computer aided process planning, and what that refers to is it is acting as a bridge between the design and manufacturing by translating design specifications into manufacturing process details. Now what happens is the moment you decide that you are supposed to make a particular product or manufacture a product, what you are going to do is you are going to generate a design as a design engineer, okay, based on certain things, but it may not be always possible that whatever you have designed as a design engineer can be manufactured on the machines. So there might be some constraint. So sometimes the part itself in that design is impossible to manufacture. Sometimes it is not possible to manufacture that part due to the restrictions or due to the kind of the machines that are available, due to the tools, okay, due to the skilled workers. Okay, so many things will be involved, because of which sometimes the design that a particular design engineer has made is not possible to be directly implemented into the manufacturing process. Okay, so this CAPP, computer aided process planning, considers all these restrictions and makes the process plans suitable such that the product design that you have made can be converted into a proper manufacturing process. Okay, next. So for this you need a process plan. So this process plan refers to a set of instructions that are used to make a component or part so that the design specifications are met. Okay, so this process plan is the most crucial thing before you start manufacturing any part. Okay, so it refers to a set of instructions. Okay, so whatever the procedures, the steps are to be followed, this process plan is going to include all those things. Okay, so before you begin with any product, you have to remember to have a process plan. Now determines how a component will be manufactured, the method with which the component is going to be manufactured, whether it is going to be additive manufacturing or subtractive manufacturing, or whether it is kind of a machining thing through which that product is to be obtained. So all those details will be included in the process plan. Is a major determinant of manufacturing cost and profitability of the product. Okay, so you have to look into this aspect of the manufacturing also. Next, the basic process planning in developing a process plan. Okay, so the basic process that is involved in developing a process plan: analysis of the part requirements. So you have to analyze what all are the requirements for that particular part, whether it requires any special raw material that is not available in the factory, whether you have to order or whether it is readily available in the market. Because what happens is, the moment, say suppose a computer mouse, okay, simply you are supposed to make a computer mouse kind of a thing in a factory. Okay, so whether the material is directly available in your factory itself, for the earlier products that you have ordered the raw material through that itself, whether you can do it. If not, you have, whether you have to order for the raw material, then in the market also, whether that kind of the material is directly available or do you have to make a custom order. Okay, so that also you have to think, because what happens is, as a raw material in the market there are only certain varieties which are available. So if you need a specific variety of something, okay, of some material of some specific composition, you will have to go for a custom order. Okay, so that you have. Yeah, yeah.
Excuse me, sir. Sir, your
Voice is
voice is
breaking. I
breaking, sir.
guess the internet connectivity. Others, please confirm whether it is with mine internet connectivity or the particular student's connectivity.
So it happened only a few times in between. So, but audible, understandable.
Okay, okay, okay. If there is something, or if there is any then lack of net of connectivity, or if there is any stoppage or any breakage between the line, somebody just give me a call so that I can stop explanation, because I don't usually refer to that Google Meets window where I am seeing whether I am still connected or no. Okay. So please, someone just give me a call if the line gets disconnected.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. So that takes care of the ordering of the raw material. Okay, so selection of the raw workpiece, then determining the manufacturing operations and their sequence. So what type of the manufacturing operations are to be carried out? You know the different types of the manufacturing operations that are to be carried out. Okay, so for that product, what are the operations that you have to decide, and the sequence also matters a lot. After what particular operation, what sequence or what next process is to be followed. Now this particular sequence may depend upon your knowledge, and sometimes may depend upon the industrial layout also, in what way the machines are laid in that particular factory, so that once the product starts flowing from one machine to next machine, again it should not have to come back to the same machine for some different operation. So you have to plan your processing of the operations in such a way that once the product starts moving through the layout in the factory, it should continuously move on. So you should be able to determine a proper sequence. So this process planning will take care of the proper sequence generation suitable to that particular layout of the factory. Then determining or selection of the machine tools. So what type of machines are required, whether those machines are already available in the factory, whether they can machine those products. Okay, sometimes the machines are available of the same kind, but the capacity or the maximum what you can say, the specification of that particular machine is not enough to machine or process that particular part which you have designed. Okay, so sometimes you will have to go for subcontracting, ordering, or machining for that small component, because what happens is the order is say maybe for a batch, so you cannot purchase a new machine only for that batch. So most of the times what happens is the vendors will give the orders to the uh, say maybe subcontracting kind of a thing. So small part of machining, they'll get it done from outside wherever the machining facility is available, and then they will continue with their further process. So determining or selection of the machine tools is the next part of the process plan. Then next, after the machines are selected, whether the required tools, whether the required work holding devices and the inspection equipments are available in the factory, this you have to check. Okay. uh, the tools again, maybe say the tools that are available in the factory, they might not be compatible with the raw material that you are going to machine or process. Okay, sometimes the harder tools may be required a proper work holding device. The jigs and fixtures that you are using, those might not be available, because jigs and fixtures are very much say product oriented. Okay, so as the product goes on changing, you need to have different fixtures for every product. So if it is a small quantity order, you cannot go for making jigs and fixtures with some heavy investment being put into it. Okay, so these things you have to take care of. Then last part of the process planning will involve the determining of the machining conditions, including the cutting speed, the feed, the depth of cut, and the manufacturing time, that is the setup time, the process time, and lead time. So we have seen all these, what different times are there, so that you can determine how much time the product is going to take to be processed throughout the plant. Okay, so this process planning, so whatever you have seen till now, so before you go for directly manufacturing a product, you have to make a plan. Okay, so that is a process plan. So for the process plan, generating this process plan, there are two methods. Either you can generate this process plan manually, or you can take the help of computers in order to generate the process plan. So how we are going to generate this process plans, either by manual or by computer aid, we are going to just see here. So first one is the manual method, where we are going to manually generate. We'll see what all are the inputs and what things are required in order to generate a manual process plan. And for the computer aided process planning, CAPP, what we call, for this CAPP, we have two methods, that is the variant system and the generative system. So what are both, we will see. So first we will go to the manually prepared plan, because what happened was, see, the technology has recently developed in the last decade to such an extent that it can go to the extent of AI, think beyond the things and then plan and give a certain output. But earlier it was not so. Okay, the entire process was dependent on the ability and the skill of the human employee over there. So whoever was the person who was in charge of planning the things, a skilled individual was required in order to examine the part drawing to develop the necessary instruction for the process plan. So he was solely responsible in order to see the entire drawing, decide whether that drawing made or the design made is feasible enough to be manufactured, and then think about the process plan based on the factory layout, the factory machines available, the tools available. So on, based on all these things, he has to generate a process plan based on his knowledge and experience. Okay, he required the knowledge of manufacturing capabilities of the factory. Okay, many times the things are undocumented, even though the machine is of some capacity, say for example of a good capacity, but over a period of time, as you go on using the machine, there happens to be certain limitations on that machine which are not documented. Okay, so these undocumented things comes by experience. It is not that it is being told somewhere, or it is written in a manual, or it is written in a document somewhere, but the person who is making this plan, he has to know the capability of that machine. Okay, and then he has to then make a decision regarding this process plan. This is just one example. Like this, there are several other examples, like what way the materials can flow, what way the input comes, what type of tools can be used, and what labor is available with the factory. So all those things are being, they are kept in the mind, and then the skilled individual will make a process plan. Now this was earlier widely used. Okay, but it was very much time consuming, and the plans were developed over a period of time, but sometimes they were not consistent, because most of the things, even if you remember, there are some things that may skip. Okay, so those create the problems later, and then you will have to regenerate the plan, reiterate and improve the process plan that was already established. And every time they used to face a problem, they used to update that process plan, and at the end they used to get a good process plan for that particular product, but only if it is in a large quantity. Then what happens when you have a small quantity of products to be made, this particular manually prepared process plan used to trouble a lot, because in that duration, if you have to supply that order, okay, so any stoppage of the process in between will create a lot of problem, because if the order is not fulfilled, okay, there might be too many problems for that particular industry. Then excessive time was being consumed, and also the cost, because the person, to hire that ability person, you can imagine what salary you will have to pay to that person in order to generate the process plan. Okay, so it was also cost consuming for the skillful planners. Okay, it was not very easily done by any normal employee in the factory. So you'll have to have a specialized and a skilled employee who can do that, and for that, to in order to have that kind of a skilled employee, you need to pay that kind of a salary. Okay, so that was a high cost activity. Then, with the computer aid, what happened was, there was an era of the CAD/CAM integration. What is CAD/CAM? Yes, somebody. What is CAD/CAM? CAD and CAM both are the separate activities of the same kind with the help of the computers. Yes, anyone?
Computer aided design and computer aided manufacturing.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so computer aided design and computer aided manufacturing. Now, the moment you say computer aided design and computer aided manufacturing, you can see that those are two different activities. In order to bridge these two activities, we are using this intermediate CAPP, computer aided process planning. So the moment computer aided design is generated, CAPP is used, and then you can go for CM, computer aided manufacturing. So the use of computers was started right from the designing, and then later on it was extended even to the manufacturing. So the CNC machines that you see, okay, which can be directly controlled by a computer, are a part of this CAM, computer aided manufacturing. So the computers are directly involved in the manufacturing of the manufacturing process or the manufacturing of the products. Okay, the use of computers in the process planning specifically, okay, can, okay, systematically produce accurate and consistent process plans. Okay, because a lot of knowledge is being fed. Now you know the importance of the data, right? Now if you see the working of some good companies, what they are doing is they are generating the data. Okay, so most of the online companies which have come from the foreign now, the most popular ones. So what they do is they are investing from the foreign countries in India, and they are allowing the local vendors and the local say shopkeepers to sell their products on their website. So what basically they are doing is they are doing this data generation. So they will see over a period of time what products are being sold where, and how is the demand, what is the quantity that is being sold. And once they are sure of that particular product, that this kind of product with this quality and this type is getting sold a lot in this particular region, then they start putting up their own products in that place, and the local vendors will have no place at a after a certain period of time. And what happens is they will start selling their products, and the business is for sure, because the earlier data has proven it. They know that for sure there is going to be a business, for sure there is going to be a customer. Okay, so this is slightly away from your topic, but I'm telling you the importance of the data. Okay, so how the data is going to help. So the way you feed the data to the computers, it is going to help your computers to systematically produce accurate and consistent process plans. Okay, then it is also going to help you reduce the cost and lead time of the process planning. Of course, because when the super knowledge is being involved from the computers, you can expect the cost to be reduced at a great, and also the lead time for the process planning. Now requires, this reduces the requirement of the skilled laborers, that is a skilled process planner that we were talking about. Those will not have a much bigger role when we are making the use of computers. Okay, because most of the data, once you feed into the computer, that will automatically generate most of the things. Then increase the productivity of the process planners. Okay, yes. So what happens is, in the earlier era, the process planners used to generate the data completely on their own. Okay, so these computers can give most of the ready-made data to these process planners, who can take certain decisions based on the data which is available to them. Okay, so their productivity directly getting increased. So in case of the earlier thing, say where you required say 5 process planners, here in this case where you have some help of computers, only 2 people can do the job, because they are all getting the data at quick click of a button. Okay, ready made data is available to them very quickly. Then interface application programs such as work standards, cost estimation, and lead time estimation. So these are all for the higher managing levels, where people need the data at just a click of a button. They can implement the work standards. Okay, they can also estimate the costs and lead time estimation. These all things are needed, because suppose if they are planning to take up a order of the future, then they should be in a position to decide whether this particular ongoing product which they are manufacturing at their industry, whether it will get over by that time, or whether it is going to require more time, or what is the approximate date by which this product can get over and they can start with the next order. So all those things they need at just a click of button. Okay, so all those things can be done with the help of the computer aids. Then consistently optimize the process routings. Yes, this is one more advantage of the computers. You can quickly optimize the process routings And reduce pre-production lead times. Yes, that is a part of the planning activity by which the time is getting reduced a lot. Say suppose if the skilled labor, the process planner in the manual stage was going to take a week in order to generate a process plan, with the help of the computer and the computer aids, he can finish the activity within 2 days itself. Okay, so that will reduce the time, the pre-production lead times. Okay, then next, increase the responsiveness to the engineering changes. So if there are any certain changes, suppose while the manufacturing process is going on, certain machine goes down or certain machine breakdowns to a permanent damage, a new machine is being replaced, so there is an engineering change. So the plan that you have developed has to adapt to quickly to that change, because you cannot stop the entire manufacturing operation and then think about this change. Okay, so quickly adopting the change, quick response to the change in the engineering things can be adopted with the help of the computers. Yes, till here any doubt, any discussions till here? Any discussion till here?
No, sir.
Yeah. So this was all regarding the developing of the process plan, how you can do it with the help of a computer, and how the computers can help you in various ways in generating the process plan. Now we will go to the two different types that we have seen. The two different types are, the one is the variant type and one is the generative type. So first type we will go for the variant type. Variant type is also called as the retrieval type of CAPP methodology. That is, I'm sorry. Okay. So it is also called as the retrieval type of the computer-aided process planning methodology. Why? Because it is going to retrieve an existing plan. So quickly remember this. Okay. These two questions are very, very important, and always it is most likely that in the final exam, you will have one question always in all the universities based on these two. Okay. Either the variant CAPP technology or the generative CAPP method. Okay. So the variant is also called as a retrieval because it retrieves the earlier made plans and then modifies and changes it accordingly to the present requirements and then gives a process plan. Are you understanding this? Okay, so that is why it is called as a retrieval type of the CAPP methodology. So the first line itself will start explaining about it. So the recall, identify and retrieve an existing plan for a similar part and make necessary modifications. So it is recalling the earlier plan that is being made of the similar kind, then make the necessary changes so that most of the things that are there, like the basic data that is to be fed regarding the type of the machine, the industry layout, and so many things which are repetitive kind. Okay, so those things can be avoided. So, and only the new changes that are there to the fresh product, only those things can be slightly changed and the plan can be quickly generated. So that is the idea behind taking up that old plan. Okay. And so the interactive environment between the planner and the computer can be maintained. Okay, so the process planning for the new part starts with the coding and classifying the part into a similar family. Okay, so it starts with the coding. Okay, so you will see what type or what is the flow for that variant type of the CAPP methodology. But know that in that particular process planning, you have to first begin with the coding and classifying the part into a similar family which is already being manufactured in that factory and is being given a particular code. So your part also you have to code and search for the similar kind of the codes in the earlier history of that particular plans. Okay. Next, requires the establishment and maintaining of the database of standard process plans that contains the operations, tools, notes, etc. So it is just like developing a library. So it requires establishing and maintaining a database which is going to act as a library of knowledge, the library of information of all the things related to developing a process plan. Okay, that may contain the knowledge of, say, maybe operations, the tools, the notes, the type of the laborers that are available, the type of the machine, the type of the, say, the factory layout, the capacities, so many things it will include. Okay. Yes. Then finally, it requires recall and editing capability. So recall that particular process plan, bring it up at the front, and then do the editing as per the required product. As per the present product, whatever the editing that you need to do, you should be able, or the variant CAPP methodology should be in a condition in order to allow that editing, so that the plan can be edited and made available for the existing product. Can just quickly go through this flow chart and we can discuss. A very important flow chart. Okay, so as I said again, most of the times you'll find the questions in the final exam based on either this or the other methodology. We can just quickly go through the entire flow chart, then we will discuss one by one. Yes, should we discuss?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So basically here we are starting with the new part design. So whenever a new part has come, you should start with the design. So that new part design you take and you start with the derive GT code for the part. So you are coding that particular part, okay, based on the certain codes, the technology that are available for coding, that is the group technology that is available, so that you can refer and do the coding. Now, with that particular coding, you are going to search the earlier database for the part family file for the GT code number, for the same group technology code number. Okay, so that part family file you are going to search and select coding system for form the part families. So that is in the preparatory stage. Okay, so once that is done, the standard process plan is being prepared. So this standard process plan is being taken and it is being retrieved into the system. So once it is retrieved, and you have to either edit that existing plan or write a new existing plan. Suppose if you write a new existing plan, again it has to be stored in the database, so that again if it is further required for in future or for a part of the same family, so that can be retrieved and again used in the future. So if you are writing new, it is fed back to the database. And if you are writing an or editing an earlier whatever the process plan is there, then that goes to the process plan formatter, so that in the required format the process plan can be made, and then it is given as a process plan as output, or it is also fed to some other application programs which are dependent on this process plan in order to take their necessary actions. So what are these some kind of the other application programs you are going to soon see in the today's session itself. But this process plan is the output of the generative CAPP, variant CAPP, retrieval type of the CAPP system. Okay, so once this process plan is being given as output, it can be also fed to the other applications for some necessary actions. Okay, yes. Now, this variant CAPP that we are discussing about will have many advantages also and disadvantages also. So let us quickly go through some advantages. Okay, so efficient processing and evaluation of complicated activities and decisions, because a lot of decisions are being made earlier and a process plan was finalized. The same process plan you are recalling, making minor changes based on the present design, and then you are going to generate a process plan. This is a highly efficient processing system which involves the evaluation of complicated activities and decisions. Okay, standardized procedures. Okay, the procedures are standardized based on certain requirements. Okay, so lower development and hardware costs. Okay, so these are the things which are reducing the costs. Then shorter development times. As you know, as I said, if you were to develop the same kind of the manually prepared process plan, it would take a long time. Okay, so in this variant type of the CAPP process plan, the computer aided process plan, we are going to have a plan within a very short duration. Then the disadvantages: inconsistency in editing. Now, this inconsistency in editing refers to some scenarios where, say, suppose even if the part is belonging to the same family, sometimes you cannot make the necessary changes as per your new design. So again, you will have to go for a fresh process plan. Okay, so inconsistency in editing. Quality is dependent on the knowledge and skill of the planner. Okay, so the quality is dependent because the data, as I said again, the importance of the data, the way you are going to feed the data is going to be dependent on the skill of the planner. So if you feed a complete and a proper data, you will get a good output. If you don't feed a proper and complete data, that is, say, suppose if you incorporate some incomplete data based on which some decisions are being made, it will not give you a proper output. So quality will be dependent upon the knowledge and skill of the planner, because planner is the one who is going to operate this computer, because the computer cannot itself directly walk around in your factory and take the details by its own. Okay, somebody is to be there in order to feed the data and then take out some measures and some outputs from it, right? Somebody is to be there in order to operate it. Okay, so the planner is the one who knows what data is to be fed, what data can be fed, and what are the additional inputs that can be made. Okay, so all those things will depend on the knowledge and skill of the planner. So if he is not skillful enough, if he is not thoughtful enough, if he doesn't think properly, and if he doesn't feed the data properly, he will never get a good process plan. In turn, the company may sometimes end up in a loss because of an improper process planning. Okay, optimization of variables such as material, the geometry, size, precision, quality, alternative processing sequences, and machine loading is difficult. Okay, now these all the things are difficult to be handled in the variant CAPP. Now, as I said again, suppose if you want to order particular part for the raw material for a part from the local vendors who are supplying the raw materials. Okay, so sometimes a circular kind of a raw material is suitable, sometimes a square kind of a raw material that is already available is suitable. Now what happens is, if you pick up one of the two, in either of the case, what happens is there is a lot of material wastage. So if you pick up a circular one, yes, you are saving the material wastage is less, but whether your machines can they handle that circular kind of a raw material, so that also you have to check. Okay, so optimization of all those materials become difficult in this variant CAPP. Next, we have the generative CAPP. Generative CAPP is directly, say, maybe you can remember the name generate. Okay, so generate. We are generating the plans, the process plans directly. Okay, by the means of the logical decisions. There are some formulas which are being used, some algorithms which are being implemented, and textual and geometry based data. Okay, so all these data, the kinds of data that you are feeding in, based on that a process plan is being freshly generated. Okay, earlier case I told you it is a retrieval kind, you are retrieving the earlier made process plan. Here you are generating. So please remember the difference between the two. So based on that particular difference itself, you can write a good amount of explanation, I hope. Okay, yes. Now, this is a truly universal system is not yet developed. Okay, generative system, generative CAPP methodology, which is truly universal to all the factories, to all the machines, to all the setups, to everything, or to all the kinds of the products, which can immediately generate based on a, say, formula, based on certain algorithm, or based on certain methodology. So that kind of a generative CAPP methodology is not yet available, because There are n number of constraints. If you just go on counting, you cannot stop. For every factory, for every zone, for every region, for every country, there are different constraints, there are different things involved. Okay, so you just cannot count. There are some political problems, there are some, say, logistic problems, so many things, you just cannot count them. So you cannot have a method for developing a computer aided, even a computer aided process plan, where you can input these things and generate a process plan directly, which is universal. Okay, which is universal for and common for everyone. Okay, so there are two essentially major components based on this for this generative CAPP methodology. One is the geometry based, which defines all the geometric features for all the process related to surfaces, together with the feature dimensions, locations, and tolerances, along with the surface finish that is being desired on the features. Okay, so this is the first component. And the knowledge based, the automatic matching of part geometry requirements with the manufacturing capabilities using process knowledge in the form of design logic and data. So either it can go by the geometry based method, or it can go by the knowledge based method. So you can see the difference. Okay, so in the geometry based, what you are going to do, you are going to define the geometric features for all the process. Okay, so all the surfaces related together with the features, dimensions, and locations. And in the knowledge based, what you are doing is you are trying to match the part geometry based on the requirements, based on the manufacturing capabilities. Okay, using the process knowledge. Okay, so those are the two things. Then knowledge based process planning. This knowledge based process planning will also include the AI and the expert system, and say also rule based. Okay, so this is most of the times not involved in some maybe industries in and around. Okay, mimic the decision making process of a human expert. So it is trying to mimicry. You might have heard the word mimicry, no? The same kind, it is trying to mimic the decision making process of a human expert, but it can never match. See, the capabilities of a human brain can never be matched with the help of a computer. The way you can grab the data with the help of your eyes, with the help of your ears, and with the help of your knowledge that you have developed throughout, okay, as an engineer, that can never be matched with the help of a computer. Even with 100 sensors, that can never be done. Okay, I don't know about the future, but as of now at least, we cannot have a robot which can generally think like a human and develop the things on its own, like these process plans and other things. Okay, yes, then it requires some experience, and which comes through the knowledge. Then human experts are required who learn. And how about the things of the software? Then knowledge representation, if conditions, and then actions. Okay, so that is just a small part, not from your syllabus, just an additional activity. Then okay, should we take a break here? We can continue in the next class, or you want me to continue and then leave the class early, as you say?
So continue.
Continue. Others, please. If you all want to have a gap, we can have a 15 minutes gap and maybe continue with the next class, or we can end the class early. Because
Continue.
because for your third internals, we are going to have fourth chapter as your syllabus. Only the fourth chapter, which is including this material transport equipments and this computerized manufacturing planning systems. Yes, would that be fine?
Yes, you continue, sir.
Yeah. Okay, I'm talking about this syllabus for your third IA. So it is going to be only one chapter, that is the fourth chapter.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, if you need any more chapters to be included, you just let me know.
Sir, the material for that fourth chapter means the notes, sir. You will be providing notes.
Yes. I'll drop the PPTs. See, what happens is these PPTs will not act like your book. Okay, so these are just for the representation and explanation. Now, most of the things that are there in the PPT, apart from that, too many things we talk and we explain from our end. Okay, so don't depend completely on these PPTs at the end of the notes or end of the this content that is required. Okay, so these are just the sample things which can tell what your syllabus is about. But the actual content of your syllabus, you will find it in the books itself. So don't refer completely these PPTs for your final preparation. Okay. These can just act as a guideline. Yes, of course, whatever is there in the PPT, yes, 100% it is there. It is not that it is out of the syllabus or it is irrelevant to you. But what happens is that is not the final source. Please remember, because we are using it just as a tool in order to communicate the things between you and us. Most of the things we are explaining from our end, which are not included in the PPT. So remember, when you need to write the answers, you cannot just quickly write a small answer for a 10-mark question, right? So please remember, PPTs are not the final thing. Most of the students are doing the same mistakes. They are writing the same thing, whatever is available in the PPT as the answers in the IA also. So that is why they are losing the marks. So you need to elaborate it properly. You need to give a proper answer. Only then you will fetch proper marks. Okay. Yes. Quickly moving on so that I can continue with the class and end the class a bit early. Okay. Now, production planning and control. Again, this is a intermediate phase, which is also called as the PPC, the production planning and control. Okay, so this comes after the process plan is being generated. Okay, so concerned with the logistics problem in the manufacturing, managing the details of what, when, how, and how many parts of the products to be produced, and obtaining the raw materials, parts, and resources to produce them. So the two things are involved in order to do a or have a production planning and control. To manage, first of all, what is to be manufactured, when it is to be manufactured, and how many of those are to be manufactured. And in order to do that, what raw materials are required, what parts are required, because there might be some small sub assemblies that you need to do. So what parts you need to have to be ready in order to do the manufacturing or the production of a particular part, and then what are the other resources that are required in order to produce them. Okay, so these two activities are coming under the production planning and control. So PPC is going to solve these logistic problems by managing the information. As I said again, the information, the data. The more data you feed, the proper data you feed, the more proper output you are going to get. PPC is the integrator in computer integrated manufacturing. So it is going to integrate most of the activities in the computer integrated manufacturing. Yes, it is concerned with deciding which products to make, how many of each, and when they should be completed, scheduling the delivery and production of the parts and products, planning the manpower and equipment resources needed to accomplish the production plan. So all these three things can be done by having a production planning. Activities in the production planning. So aggregate production planning. So this aggregate production planning the production output levels for major product lines. So you should be able to have the proper plans and activities for the production, okay, in order to get the proper output. So there must be a proper coordination with the product design, the production, marketing, and sales. Suppose if it is a sales driven industry, if it is not an order driven industry, suppose you manufacture the product by yourself and then sell it across. Suppose there is some drop in the sales due to any particular problem. So there should be a proper coordination between the sales team, sales and marketing, and the production team in order to say maybe slow down your production, decrease the production, or completely stop the production in some cases if there are some problems. Say suppose if there is a genuine problem faced by the customer and the product is failing immediately on a small repeated number of uses, then what to do? Then there must be some design changes that need to be made. But before that design change is incorporated, the present batch of the products that is being processed in the factory, that has to be stopped. you need to stop the production, because it should not so happen that the entire batch is again moving out in the market. See, there are too many things involved here. First of all, you are wasting the resources of the factory, the laborer, the raw materials, everything is going waste. Secondly, when those processed products are moving out in the market and when the customers start using them, already the sales executives are knowing that, because they directly get the feedback from the customer that yes, the parts are failing, the particular product is giving an problem. Okay, so already they know that. But again, if you are sending the next batch also in the market, the customers are again going to face a problem, and there is going to be a problem with your company's name, the reputation that is there in the market, that you are going to lose. Okay, so in order to maintain that reputation, also it is necessary that there must be a good coordination between all these things: the product design, the production, the marketing and sales. The master production planning. So master production schedule, if you heard about this term MPS, the master production schedule is one of the output of this master production planning. Okay, so it is a specific schedule of the quantities of individual models in each major product line. So how much of the each product and how much of the quantity of the each thing should be available where. Okay, so that comes under the master production schedule of a part of a master production planning. Okay, then next comes the master production the materials requirement planning. So a detailed schedule of the raw materials, okay, and the products required for the part production models in the master schedule. So this MRP, materials requirement planning, will take care of that. And last one is the capacity planning. So these are the three things: one is the MPS, one is the MRP, and one is the CP. First one is the master production schedule, next one is the material requirement planning MRP, and the last one is the capacity planning. So planning the labor and the equipments along with the resources to achieve the master schedule, the master production schedule, MPS. Okay, so that is the capacity planning. Yes, planning the production output levels for major product lines will involve, okay, high level corporate planning activity. Now this must be coordinated with the plans of the sales and the marketing departments, which includes products that are currently in the production, must consider the current and the future inventory levels of those products. Okay, now again this comes then small example where the sales and the marketing team cannot quickly go to the market and come up with a huge order which is impossible to be fulfilled by that particular factory in a definite term. Okay, so they should be also aware of the current and the future inventory levels for those products. How many in the next month might come, by next 2 months how many of these products can be manufactured. So all those things they must be aware of. Also includes the new products currently being developed. So once they are going for the marketing of the present product, they can also make the customers aware of the new product that is going to be soon launched by the company. Okay, so for all those things, this coordination between the things are required. Now marketing plans for the current and the new products must be reconciled against the total capacity resources of the company. Okay, so that is again a coordination activity which is being included, which is being necessary in order to have that thing. Yes, the master production schedule. Now the specific schedule of the individual products and models that is derived from the aggregate production plan. So from the aggregate production plan, you are going to get this master production schedule. So it is a list of the products to be manufactured, when they should be completed and delivered, and in what quantities. Okay, so master production schedule includes 3 categories of items. So firm customer orders, forecasted demand, and spare parts. So all these things have to be kept in mind for the master production schedule. The materials requirement planning. So it is a computational techniques that a computational technique that converts the master production schedule for the end products into a detailed schedule. Please remember, this is nothing but a detailed schedule of the arrival, the incoming and the outgoing of the parts. Okay, into a detailed schedule for the raw materials and components used in the end products. So there has to be some schedule of when a particular tool, when a particular raw material has to come, in what quantity it has to come. Okay, so all those things based on the production rate that you are going to achieve. Okay, so you need to make sure that the raw materials are available at each and every machine, because you should not stop for any particular reason. Yes, useful for dependent demands, demand items, not independent demand items. Okay, independent demand items are final products and spare parts, and dependent demand items are say component parts used in the final products. So these two types it has to manage. Okay, and give a schedule and an but proper timetable for when it has to arrive and when it has to leave in what quantities. So if you see the MRP system, just quickly go through, we will discuss. Yes, done?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, so if you see the materials requirement planning, the major input to the materials requirement planning is the master production schedule, which is taking the input from the sales orders, the sales forecast, and the spare part requirements. So once this master production schedule is generated, that will act as a major input for the materials requirement planning. And then based on the master production schedule, the materials requirement planning is being done. Okay, which will also take an input of the inventory record file, because before you order the new raw materials, the new tools, and whatever the things are required freshly, you need to keep in mind what the things are earlier available with us, already available with us, what things were used earlier. Okay, so all those things you need to remember. Then it will also take an input from the capacity planning. What is the capacity? What rate you can give the output, at what rate it will take the input. Okay, so those things move to and fro, because from the materials requirement planning, if the within the capacity it can be done, the information has to go to the capacity planning, and from the capacity planning some information has to come to the materials requirement planning. Then bill of materials will act as another input to the materials requirement planning, which takes the input from the product design and the manufacturing engineering. So you know what exactly is a bill of materials and how it is being prepared. So that bill of materials is being fed as a input to the materials requirement planning. Then from the materials requirement planning, you will have an output as planned order releases for purchasing, one thing, and secondly manufacturing and other output reports. Okay, so from the material requirements planning you are going to get these two things as the output. Next thing, inputs. Yes, this is what we have discussed. From the master production schedule, expressed in terms of time buckets. So from the master production schedule, what exactly you are supposed to feed is the things in terms of the time buckets. So for every activity, what is the time? Because based on the time itself, you are going to decide the quantity. So in this month, what quantity? In next month, what quantity? How much, where, and when? So all those things in terms of the time buckets. Bill of materials file, the product structure and the list of the component parts in each product. So how many components are there in the each part? So say suppose 10 components, 20 components. So this bill of materials file is going to include all those things which is being fed as an input to the MRP. Then next one is the inventory record file, which contains the items of the master data, the part number, the order quantities, the lead times, okay, the inventory status, okay, so the time, the phased record of the inventory status and subsidiary data, the given orders. Now what happens is in the inventory also sometimes there are some orders which are being made. So the things are not counted in the present inventory things. So if you are looking at the present inventory and then doing some planning, that plan should also include the purchase order given by that inventory. Okay, so what new raw material is going to come, that also you need to keep in mind. Again, you should not order double things for the same requirement, same kind of the requirement, right? So this comes under that subsidiary data and so many things. Yes. MRP outputs. So planned order releases, the first one is the purchase orders to buy the raw materials and the parts is the first output of the materials requirement planning, and the work orders to make the parts and products is the second output of the MRP. So materials requirement planning. So please remember, MRP will refer to the materials requirement planning. It is not the maximum retail price. Okay, so last year itself there was one student who, when asked, explain briefly about MRP along with a flowchart, he had written about the maximum retail price, how it is being generated, and one cannot sell beyond the MRP price, and so many things. Wonderful explanation was there, but 0 marks. Okay, so please remember, it is materials requirement planning. Yes. Next, report of the planned order releases in the future periods. Rescheduling notices, cancellation notices, inventory status reports, performance reports, and exception reports, and the inventory forecast. So all these things are coming as the outputs of the materials requirement planning. Yes. Till here, any doubts? Any doubts till here? Are we still connected?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Any doubts till here?
No, sir.
Yeah. Should we move ahead? Yeah. So what are the benefits of this MRP which are being reported by users? So reduction in the inventory. So as I explained just now, unnecessary inventory is not there. Double orders or the repeated orders or the same kind of orders are not there. So reduction in the inventory. So a minimum required amount of inventory is being maintained. So quicker response to the changes in the demand. So as soon as the demand changes, you can quickly adopt and quickly respond to the change in the demand. Suppose if a product is having more demand, quickly you can adopt and release that extra quantity in the market so that it can be quickly sold. Others, in the other way, if the demand has reduced, quickly you can reduce the production so that you can avoid that loss, as we have discussed. Then reduced setup and changeover costs, because the moment you are changing a product, you need to have a lot of changeover that is to be made, so that setup and the changeover cost is being reduced. Better machine utilization. Yes, the maximum extent of your machine can be utilized in a better way. Improved capacity to respond to the changes in the master production schedule. Okay, so the capacity to respond the changes in the master production schedule, there will be an improvement. Otherwise, suppose if you make a change in the master production schedule, by the time in the actual material requirement activities you make any changes, that will take too long. Okay, but with the help of this MRP, you can quickly react to the changes in the master production schedule, aid in developing the master schedule. Okay. Yes. Next, why some the material requirement planning systems do not succeed. One, the application was not appropriate, usually because the product structure did not fit the data requirements of MRP. As we have seen earlier, no universal system can be developed for these kind of things. Okay, so application may be sometimes inappropriate because of formulas and the algorithms which you are feeding to that application. Based on that only the application is going to work. Even if you fill 100% and correct data, application has to be proper, right? So sometimes the application was not appropriate, usually because the product structure did not fit the requirements of MRP. Done. MRP computations based on the inaccurate data. The second point is related to the improper feeding of the data. Next, the master production schedule was not coupled with the capacity planning. So again, some communication gap kind of a thing over here, where the MPS was not coupled with the CP, that is the master production schedule was not coupled with the capacity planning. Next, the MRP generated an unrealistic schedule of work orders that overloaded the factory. Yes, this is same kind of a thing again, where you have a miscommunication because of which an unrealistic schedule was generated. It might be poorly utilized or it might be highly utilized. It can be anything, but that MRP will not work properly if those kind of things happen. Then the capacity planning, the last part of that master production schedule, the capacity planning. So concerned with determining the labor and the equipment resources required to meet the current master schedule as well as the long-term future production needs of the firm. So basically it is all about the capacity of the laborers, the capacity of the machine, the capacity of the industry, the capacity to handle the things, okay, to manufacture at what rate, at what capacity they can manufacture, what big products they can go for. Okay, so everything comes under this capacity planning. So this is taking care of the master schedule as well as the long-term future production needs. Also serves to identify the limitations of the available production resources so that unrealistic master schedule is not planned. So capacity planning keeps a limit for everything so that unrealistic master schedules are not generated. Accomplished in two stages. So there are two kinds. Please remember this again, important point. Rough cut capacity planning and the capacity requirements planning. So rough cut capacity planning is to assess the feasibility of the master production schedule, and the capacity requirements planning is the detailed capacity calculation for individual departments and work cells. So this is the capacity planning. Okay, so rough cut capacity planning and the capacity requirements planning. So rough cut capacity planning will take an information from the master production schedule as well as give some information back to the master production schedule, and the capacity requirements planning will take some input from the materials requirement planning and it will give some inputs to the material requirement planning. Yes, the short-term capacity adjustments. Suppose there is a sudden rise or a sudden surge in the demand. Say, for example, very simple example I'll take, that is, say, masks. So due to this COVID pandemic, there was a sudden rise, a huge rise in the demand for the masks, the face masks. Now, this will not happen throughout the life. This will not go on continuously. This will happen only for a short period. So the industries which are involved in the, say, fabrication of those masks, so how they are adjusting to this small surge for a small period. So some short-term capacity adjustments need to be made. So neither they can now take new machines worth of crores so that they can keep those machines with them throughout their life, because the same demand is not going to remain once this vaccine and other things are developed, right? So the same kind of scenario will be there even in our mechanical industry. So suddenly there is a huge demand for some product, okay, so which is a short-term surge, which is a short-term capacity adjustment is required, okay. So the employability levels you need to plan, because you cannot employ the permanent employees for the company in huge numbers, because after 2 years you are not going to have any orders. You know that it is a short term order. Okay, so based on that, you need to think everything. So once you know that, then all these things will come into picture. So the employment levels, then the temporary workers, how many temporary workers need to be there, the number of work shifts per period, labor hours per shift, overtime or reduced hours, then inventory stockpiling. Now, this short-term capacity adjustment is not only on the higher side, it might be also on the lower side. Also, please remember that, okay? One example of the mask that I gave was on the very, very higher side. It can be directly on the other side also, because say for most of the things in this COVID era itself, again, the orders were zero. Orders came down completely to zero. So whether the industries, they should remove their employees or they should wait for the orders to come, or whether they should wait, you never know whether the orders are again going to come or not. That also predictability you will not have in the near future. Okay, so this short term capacity adjustments will take care of all those things. Inventory stockpiling is again a problem, because if you stock up more and if you stock up less, both are problems. Order backlogs, subcontracting, everything. Yes. Long-term capacity adjustments, new capacity, new equipment investments, new plant construction, purchase of existing plants from the other companies, acquisition of existing companies, plant closings, etc., are a part of the long-term capacity adjustments. Shop floor control, yes, this is one more important thing. Concerned with the releasing production orders to the factory, monitoring and controlling the progress of the orders through the plant, and acquiring current information on the status of the orders. So it is directly the working level control, the shop floor control. So the manufacturing execution system, the MES, the computer software that supports shop floor control will typically include the capability to respond online inquiries about the status of the orders in the shop, and other MES functions may include generation of process instructions, real-time inventory control, and the labor tracking. So all these things are going to come under the shop floor control. Okay, so here we end up with the manufacturing or the manufacturing planning system based on the help of the computers, the computer aided manufacturing planning system. So what all we have learned is the CAPP methodology, a master production schedule, then the generative type of the CAPP and the variant type of the CAPP. Then we have learned about the material requirement planning. Then we have seen the from MPS, the master production schedule. Then we have seen the capacity planning. Then we have seen the shop floor control, and we have seen the short term and long term, what we say, the capacity adjustments. Yes. Yes, still here. Any doubt in the entire topic? Did you have any doubt? Anything to be discussed?
No, sir.
Anything to be discussed, please let me know, because we are stopping here. We are completing the 4th chapter.
So in 4th chapter, we also have that automated guided vehicles, you know.
Yes, yes, yes. That is a part of the 4th chapter. That is the first part actually, and this is the second part. That comes under the materials handling and storage.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that is the first part. This is the second part. So under the 4th module, you have 2 parts. So if you have any doubt or anything to be discussed, please quickly let me know so that we can discuss the things. So including the earlier AGV numerical that we had solved in the last class, or the entire 4th chapter in general, if you have any doubt, please ask me. Please, please, even the silliest doubt is welcome. And regarding your valuation of the second IA, maybe I'll start by tomorrow morning. By tomorrow evening, everyone will get your marks, okay, for the same subject second IA, okay. So valuation will be done by tomorrow. Yes, anything to be asked or to be told? Please quickly.
Sir, about the valuation,
Yeah.
in the first internal, sir, if we have been ranked like 28 out of 30, so then
Yeah.
we don't get lost marks in the quiz or in the I.
Yeah, if you have a doubt related to that, you can always contact me. There were already some 4 to 5 students who had contacted, and I have already addressed to that. What happens is in the quiz, most of you all have lost marks, but I can give you the split up. Okay, in what question you have lost the marks and where. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, okay.
Yes, you can just text me with your USN and roll number so that I can pick it up and send you the details. Because what happens is, since you all are not physically available in the college, blue book that you have now, so that we have xeroxed and we have made an individual page for each one of you. And the way we used to write the split up of the marks and the marks on your blue book, so those records we are maintaining in the college. So we will have a complete record of the split up of every answer, how much marks you have got, along with the total for that IA and the quiz. The split up you will have. Unfortunately, in the Google Classroom, the split up for the question wise or the uh, this breakdown of the marks is not possible. That's why I was not able to include. Only the total entry is possible.
Yes, sir. No issues.
Yeah, yeah. If you have a doubt, you can certainly message me and we can clear your doubts.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Regarding the next class on Friday that we have, okay, I'll be starting with the fifth module where we will be learning about the CNC systems and the CNC programming languages. Okay, and the second part is, I guess, with the robotics. So we will discuss all the things in the next class. So we will end the class today with this end of the fourth module. And if there are any doubts or anything, you can just always contact me and you can let me know and we can discuss the things. Okay. Yes, if you have any doubts, you can ask or you can leave the meeting. I'm ending the class here.